So I will now introduce our first speaker, Santiago Montes de Oca. So Santiago obtained a PhD in computer graphics in 2018, and just after that, he founded RTC, a company that provides custom development of stylized rendering pipelines for animation studios. And I've had the pleasure of working with Santiago for almost 2 years at RTC, and I've met him even before that, actually, when we were still finishing our PhDs, both in stylized rendering. And he's now working at RT Engineering on a brand new standalone software for real-time stylization. And I'll let Santiago talk to you about it. Santiago, you have the floor.
All right. Thank you, Alex, for the introduction. Hi, I'm Santiago, and I'm going to talk to you about 3D art direction and happy accidents. So let me share my screen and let's get started. So this presentation, I'm going to be talking about a brief introduction to stylized rendering and what 3D art direction is all about. And then we're going to talk about evolving MNPRX, like what we have learned through our journey developing software to achieve stylized looks, and about our future vision as well. So this is me. I'm the CEO and founder of RTC, and we're a company specialized entirely on creating stylized looks. So, and we've been on this for a while now. This is me in 2017 at SIGGRAPH Real-Time Live, wherein I was still a student presenting what you're about to see today, like in the future, like projected a few years after. So without further ado, let's get into stylized rendering in real time. So there's something that I want everyone to understand is that stylized rendering is not expressive by itself. If we take any render and we apply non-photorealistic or stylized algorithms or computer graphics algorithms on top of it, it's not really gonna look like much unless you let an artist control these algorithms. And this is a perfect example of the same algorithms just controlled by an artist instead of just being applied over the image as it is. So stylized rendering, we can all agree that it requires artists and art direction tools for them so that they can transform something that looks traditionally like this into something that is more stylized. So let's talk about how to achieve this stylization. So the way we approach this is we want to give the 3D artist as much control as possible. So the traditional compositing stylization pipelines, which is mostly used in feature animation, is the 3D application generates the images, and the images are then passed on to the compositing application, which in turn stylizes all these images and creates the style. So we can say that the art direction of the style is mostly in 2D. The problem with this is that the 3D artist doesn't really know how the final image will look like. Only the compositing artist will know this. And in case there are any changes required that need the 3D application to, or the 3D artist to change things, you would need to re-render the images until you see the final image. So in a way, it's a bit of a decoupled process for the 3D artist because he's working without seeing the end result. So these can all be fixed if we push everything onto real time. So if we have a visual content creation application, so a 3D application that renders in real time and makes compositing in real time, right? We can have 3D artists that have knowledge of the final image, what it's gonna look like, and can therefore art direct and iterate much better in 3D even. So they can change things in 3D and see the final stylized result in the end. How does this look like? So these are some of the final stylizations that we have done with our plugin for Maya, and they have different levels of control. So here we're changing different presets like global attributes, and you can go even to mid-level of control, changing some material fluctuations for certain effects. You can also paint on top of geometry. For example, here we're painting color bleeding, and you're seeing the result right away, right? So as soon as you hit play, you see the effect, you see what you have art directed in real time. And because we're in 3D, we can even use like completely different objects to control the stylization and approach your final look, and therefore enjoy much more the creative process and be more playful with it. So what are the advantages of this? Of course, you get to see the end result, which is crucial. It's so much fun to see exactly what you are creating. You have immediate art direction, so you can decide right away what you want, what you don't want. You can always Control-Z what you don't want, and you're seeing the final result, right? So it also allows for levels of control beyond lighting. You're not just setting lights, you are painting directly onto objects, you are changing a little parameter at a vertex, so you have a lot of different control. There's no need for render farms in order to art direct, which is also already pretty great. And this allows also for happy accidents. Having real-time stuff happening in front of you allows you to do things by accident that you never thought possible or you never intended. For example, the background here is entirely procedural that we just generated out of nothing. We somehow managed to create ambient occlusion of fur in real time, as you can see here on the top right, or by accident, we realized that an iterative filter was the way to go in order to have color bleeding in the future as well. As you can see here, how the kind of like the pixels are bleeding out suddenly. And something that's also really cool is by playing with shaders, something that looked like this on the top right can suddenly also look like that. And this is all part of the magic of having everything happen in real time. It allows for creativity to really flow. And this has multiple applications beyond just animated films. So because we're real time, you can apply these to games, to architectural visualization, medical visualization, interactive art, or even stylized metaverses, because why stick to photorealism when anything is possible? So after this introduction, I want to go through a little bit the evolution of how we started and how what we're at right now, basically. So we took my PhD prototype back then called MNPR and wanted to make it production ready, which is the result of MNPRX. And we focused on two things. One of them was the art direction tools, which have different levels of control from the entire image to the individual vertices. And we also focused on, okay, let's provide different styles for artists to use in 3D. And while doing this, we also implemented different technology. So on the right, you can see a mixture of infinite canvas with canvas advection. So the canvas is kind of glued to the movement of the 3D object, and temporal anti-aliasing. And we have released this, and people have come up with some amazing production examples that I wanted to share with you. So this is a work in progress of a passion project directed by Chad Bradbury using the watercolor stylization. This is all viewport on RealTime. This is a waiting screen for a Twitch stream, for example, done by Daurelia Gazelle, and it's also using the watercolor effect. This is a short film done by Studio Kimchi, a little bit in an UPA style. This is a commercial that we did with Taiko Studios as well, where we developed a way to break the edges of the characters and make that stick to the motion as well. And this is a pilot for a TV show that Noctopus has done, mixing the watercolor stylization with compositing as well to achieve this result. And while we were very fascinated by what people have done, what artists have done with our software, we have also received feedback and noticed limitations from our approach. And first of all, we are using hard-coded C++ styles. That means that the source code is not accessible. So if someone wants to change a style, they can't really. They need to contact us. And if we want to change the style, we need to also, let's say, add outlines to a watercolor style. We would need to change the style in C++, recompile it, and then send a new version out. The problem with this is that if in the future update, we update the watercolor style with this new feature, everyone that is in production with the watercolor style are suddenly gonna have outlines. So we're creating variants of a simple watercolor style, and this is not really scalable if many people are using the watercolor style in different ways, right? So we're also limited to and by Autodesk Maya. A lot of people have asked us, hey, can we use this in Unreal? Can we use this in Unity or in Blender? The problem is, yes, but we would be duplicating work because we're very Maya bound. We were very Maya bound, I gotta say. And in order to integrate to other engines, we would need to not only duplicate everything we do, but also maintain that, which for a small team is quite difficult to do. And we were also only on Windows, and people were asking, well, why? Well, what can we do about it? We're here to change that. And this is the evolution of MNPRX. So we're presenting to you guys today Flair. And Flair is developed from the ground up from us with 3D art direction embedded at its core. And it can be integrated with other engines and operating systems. And there's two focuses of Flair. First, custom 3D materials. By developing them from scratch, we can break from Maya limitations or limitations from other engines. And we implement the features that we need. So we don't rely on Autodesk or on any other company. So for example, we have brought to Maya light linking on the viewport per vertex motion vectors, and we generate our custom AOVs that we can also use in our custom image engine, which can work either as a standalone or as a plugin. And it provides editable image shaders, meaning you can change the stylization however you want yourself. You don't need to change anything on the C++ side. And it's all node-based creation and modification. So it allows for a very scalable style management. If you have your version of watercolor that you like, you just save that graph and you can always open it. No matter what updates come, you're always going to have that specific style you want. So I think it's time for us to show a little bit how this looks like. This is Maya right now. As you can see, it's just a simple robot in a room. And this is Viewport 2.0. Now, for this presentation, I have created a little style called RTC Custom. This is the graph. And I have added per vertex motion blur to it. So as you can see, we're having motion blur in real time. This is just the Maya viewport. This is not a video. So this is everything in real time. And by just providing these parameters, I was playing around this morning, and I figured out that if you put the motion blur length to 20 and the blur step to 100, you can achieve a very different motion blur that suddenly repeats the same traces as well. So you can generate a completely stylized motion blur by accident. I just happened to experiment with different parameters, and this is what's fascinating about this. And of course, you don't only have these attributes, you have access to the entire graph. So this is currently what is creating the style, this part here. And with the same ease, we can hook up a different style, so different shaders, and have, for example, suddenly outlines appearing. And these outlines can then be also motion blurred, but only the outlines. And this is happening all while we're in the 3D application. And what this allows us to is to enable also 3D art direction. So we can say that the intensity, the edge intensity, we want to have a global that controls that. We're going to have these two like this. We have this global edge intensity, and we're going to put that as a parameter to our shader, edge intensity. And once we have that, you will have realized that we have an attribute here called edge intensity in Maya. So this was automatically created, and this is controlling our graph from within Maya now. And we can go even further. We can say, okay, I want to have some controls for each vertex, for example. So we can open the vertex effects here. Right now it's empty, but we can create a control definition for it. So this is going to be edge. This is going to be intensity, for example. We are controlling these from the edge control target, the red channel, and automatically you're going to have a tool here to modify this. So I can go here, select this, and decrease the influence of the edges, for example, on the top front of the character. And this is all in 3D. So this is going to remain with the motion as well attached to the object. So it's incredibly easy to create and adapt any stylization to feed your production needs and your art direction needs as well. So Flair is available in early access right now. We released it actually yesterday for Patreons and MNPRX subscribers. If you want to get your hands on Flair, please make sure to check it out. Here are the links. And I wanted to share also a little bit what's next in our roadmap. Well, we want to flare it up. The Flair release, the proper release, is planned in January. We're planning on adding more styles and effects. You just saw how easy it was to just play around and create these. And we're also allowing to render crypto mats in real time and more real-time AUVs to push different styles further. Then we also want to not only attach control to the vertices, but also on textures, improve the graph performance, and make iterative filters so that we can have proper bleeding that stretches out and not just everything image-based. And of course, more integrations. We would love to bring these to Unreal or to Blender and have as many people as possible play around and have stylized worlds and productions with it. So with that being said, I thank you very much. And in case you have any questions, I'm here for the duration of the session. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Santiago, for this wonderful presentation. It's so exciting to see finally the results of this hard work of, I think, how many years now? Two years or maybe more?
It's been 2019 we started. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah. And
so,
yeah. So maybe I was wondering if for you, what would you like to see afterwards in terms of style? Because I think that with MNPRX and Flair, you have already explored like quite a lot of style, I think. Watercolors. I think you showed a little bit of hatching. And I was wondering if you had any particular style in mind or kind of visual that you wanted to tackle next with Flair?
So with Flair, I mean, the cool thing is that we can tackle many things at once without breaking compatibility, right? Because each style is its independent graph. So something that we have been requested a lot is for art directable outlines, where you can control the width, the intensity of the outlines, even if they get the color from the albedo or you just set it globally. So I think that is going to be the next big style that we address, of course, while adding other effects. But we opened the entire framework because we wanted anyone to be able to create styles, not only us. Of course, you can take inspiration from what we have created. You can also learn from what we have created as well to create something truly unique and yours. We wanted to facilitate that as well.
Exciting. And I was wondering maybe more of a general question. What would you like to see in the future in the stylized rendering community? I mean, what do you think the stylized rendering community should take as next steps, you know, as a whole community? Maybe tackle more challenges, maybe something like we could see in photorealism, like a kind of standard maybe to define styles, like you try to do a little bit with Flair, I mean, kind of reuse style between different applications. And yeah, I was wondering what were your thoughts on that?
So I think we're at a point where the tools are already there to do something different than photorealism. I mean, the whole industry has been focusing towards making things photorealistic for decades now. And even though indirectly there were also non-photorealistic or stylized approaches that were being developed, there were never the tools to specifically address something different than aiming towards photorealism. And this is quite exciting for me. And people have started realizing that it is also possible to create things differently. I mean, what ImageWorks has done with Into the Spider-Verse or with the Mitchells, what DreamWorks just released yesterday with the Bad Guys, you can see that we can really start to explore and not just take photos of a virtual world, but make art as well in the virtual world, in either if it's comic art or if it's watercolor art or if it's any type of artistic style. And this is something that really excites me and gets me going forward and pushes our development as well.
I see. And have you wondered about like real-time, but for video games, like using Flair or Maya for video games? Have you been approached maybe by some company with that?
So we have not been, I mean, we have been approached by a lot of people using Unity or Unreal to see if we can develop this. But for now, we have focused so far in Maya. But yeah, this is something that we're really looking forward to now that we have Flair and it's working. We can finally think about, okay, where can we integrate this, right? What are the next steps? What do artists want to use this for, right? So yeah, it's exciting for us as well, seeing and where we can implement what we have developed into as well.
I see. Okay. I see that we have some questions in the chat. We will be able to come back to those questions afterwards in the panel discussion. So don't worry, we'll be able to go back to them. But thank you again, Santiago, for this
My pleasure.
presentation.
Thank you for having us.